My name is Amanda and today I have a very exciting video to share with you guys because I haven't done a wrap up in like 3 months because I just haven't been reading enough for me to be able to make a whole video about books that I've read each month. So therefore I thought that I would compile everything that I've read since March in this video and share my thoughts with you because there were some books that I really enjoyed and some that I didn't like as much. So I basically had my IB exams and I talked about all of that in my last video if you're interested, but therefore I haven't been reading as much as I wanted to, but I've been trying to catch up after the exams have ended and I managed to actually read some of the books that I've been meaning to read for so long. So without further ado, let's talk about that. So the first book I read in this period of time was Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, and this is a dystopian novel and it's a classic, and it's all about book burning and burning literature and thereby also knowledge. And I must say that I had really high expectations on this book because I love dystopian novels and I've been meaning to read something by Ray Bradbury for a really long time, but then I ended up being quite underwhelmed, unfortunately. It's really short and you don't really get to know any of the characters that well. We follow the main character who is Guy Montag and he is the fireman, but in this dystopian future the fireman's job isn't to extinguish fires but to start them and burn books. And he basically starts to question his life and what he's doing. I'm glad that I read it, but I was, like I said, quite underwhelmed and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was a reread and it was one of my favorites, and it is Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, and I love this novel so very much. It follows Lenny and George and their journey to find a job and working their way through life during the Great Depression. Lenny is a very large guy who is quite simple-minded and he just don't really know the consequences of his actions all the time, and therefore bad things really tend to happen. And what I like with this book is that you get so emotionally attached to the characters in these few little pages because this is only like 100 pages long. So this book really packs an emotional punch and I love it so much. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars the second time as well, and I think this is a phenomenal read and I want to read more of John Steinbeck's novels, and yeah, I like this book so much. So the next novel I read was The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell, and I'm sorry to say that this book really suffered from my exam period because I ended up reading the first half of it and then just putting it down for maybe a month and a half maybe. And when I picked it up again, I guess I wasn't given the full experience. But with that said, I did really enjoy this book and it's interesting on so many levels. You can definitely say that this book is a mixture of genres because you have fantasy, you have literary fiction, you have dystopian, and there's so much to talk about this novel, and I think that it is definitely worth a read. This novel is divided into 7 or 8 parts, and each part follow a different character except for the first and last, who follow the same character, and they are all set 10 years later in time than the previous one. Our main character that appears in all the parts is Holly Sykes, and she is just such an amazing character, and that's what I liked about this book being so long, because you really get to explore the characters and their stories and their actions, and everything just makes so much sense because you're living inside the head of all these characters. Mitchell brings up so many interesting topics in this book, and he touches very well upon the environmental state that our planet is in right now and what will happen if we don't take better care of it. And I just think that the last part was really well and realistically written. I really enjoyed it and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I would recommend it. I want to read more of David Mitchell's books now, and I think that it's just, like I said, interesting on so many levels. So the next book I read was a book that I was so excited to read, and that was The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. And this book basically follows a woman during the 1950s who gets an internship at this New York fashion magazine, and everything is going really well for her, but she slowly sinks into a depression and her life just becomes very miserable basically. Unfortunately, it didn't live up to my expectations, and I can't really put my finger on why though, because the writing style is really beautiful and it's quite simple but yet really illustrative and imaginative, and that aspect of this book I really enjoyed, but there was just something lacking in the other departments, I guess. Also because Sylvia Plath really manages to immerse you into the mind of Esther Greenwood, and I mean, she's depressed and you really feel how the world is really grey, and you really get to take the journey along with her, and therefore this book becomes quite depressing because there's basically no light because everything is turned into a negative. While that makes this book really interesting and very well written, for me as a reader, I just kind of felt depressed as well, or really just down reading it, and I mean that's not the feeling that I want to get from reading a book. I don't know, but I mean it's super well crafted and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and I was just not wowed by it, unfortunately. So the last book that I've read is No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy, and I don't even know where to begin with this book, unfortunately, and because I didn't enjoy it that much, to be honest. Buying this book was just a shot in the dark because I didn't know if I would enjoy it. It's not the book that I typically read, and it's basically a thriller or a crime novel-ish. And you follow a bunch of characters, and the main character, Moss, he finds this drug exchange gone really bad, everyone is dead, and there is money, and he decides to take it, and then his life completely changes. And while this book didn't suit me was because the writing style just didn't work for me at all. Basically no punctuation, a lot of dialogue, just really short dialogue, and there just wasn't too much to grab onto with the language, to be honest, and that's what I personally mostly enjoy with books. That is the writing, and it just didn't. This type of writing in dialect and just really simplistic language just didn't suit my taste, and also that made me kind of detached from the characters, and the story wasn't too interesting either, and that just makes, in my opinion, a thriller novel or crime novel just fall quite flat, and therefore this book just wasn't for me. So that was basically all the books that I've read since March, and I am currently reading Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, and this book is just beautifully written, and it's about a man called Humbert, and he is very attracted to Lolita, who is an 11-year-old girl, and it's all about his love for her and his obsession with her, and it's a very disturbing read, but I kind of like it so far. I haven't read too much, I've only read 55 pages, but the language is so stunning, and he is a very disturbed man, but also a very interesting character, so we'll see where this goes, and I hope that it just gets better from here. So that was pretty much all I had to share with you this lovely day, and school is soon over, and I can't even wait. I'm graduating from high school in a week today, which is crazy. It's crazy. I can't believe it, and it's gonna be so much fun. I would love to know what you guys are reading and if you have read any good books in the last couple of months, because like I said, I haven't really been catching up with reading or booktube or anything like that, so I would love to know what you have been enjoying. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content, and I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye!